He doesn't know yet that I'm about to become someone else's mate. The hull smells of pine and cold water, of the mountain streams that feed this territory. It's clean, sharp, nothing like the warm earthiness of our old home. Everything here is designed to remind you of power, of the natural order, of the hierarchy that governs our kind. Omegas at the bottom, alphas at the top, and somewhere in between, the rest of us, trying to survive. My heart pounds against my ribs like a prisoner testing the bars of a cage. I don't want this. God, I don't want this. But wanting has never mattered much in my life, has it? I wanted my mate to survive the sickness that took him. I wanted to keep our home. I wanted to raise Noah in peace, watching him grow without the shadow of pack politics darkening our door. But the world doesn't care what an Omega wants. The world cares about utility, about breeding rights, about maintaining the precious balance of power between territories. Before I walk through this emotional story, please tell me your name, the city you're watching me from, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And so here we are. Papa? Noah's voice is so small, so frightened. When do we get to go home? The question splits me open. How do I tell him that home is a place we'll never see again? That home is something we have to build from scratch in this cold, unfamiliar place? That home might never again feel like the word we want it to mean? Soon, sweetheart. I lie, because sometimes love is about protecting your child from truths they're too young to carry. We're going to make a new home here. But even as I speak, I wonder if I'm capable of it. If I have anything left inside me to give to this strange new life, to this alpha I've never met, to a future that feels like a sentence rather than a promise. The doors at the far end of the hall begin to open. My breath catches. Every muscle in my body tenses, preparing for flight even though there's nowhere to run, even though running would mean condemning Noah and myself to a life of destitution and danger. The Omega in me, the biological imperative that I've spent years trying to ignore, suddenly surges to the surface, making my skin prickle with awareness, making my instincts scream alerts that I don't want to hear. An alpha is coming. Not just any alpha. My alpha. The one I've been promised to. The one who will have rights to my body, my future, my son. The one who could make our lives bearable or turn them into a different kind of hell than the one we've already survived. Cashin. Even his name sounds hard. Uncompromising. Like the strike of metal against stone. He enters the hall flanked by 2 pack members, and I feel the weight of his presence before I fully process what I'm seeing. Alphas have that effect, a gravitational pull that affects everyone in their orbit. But Cashin's presence is different from my late mate's warm, encompassing energy. This is cold authority. This is power that doesn't ask for permission or affection. This is leadership forged in duty rather than desire. He's taller than I expected. Broader. His dark hair is pulled back from a face that could have been carved from the same stone as these walls. All hard angles and uncompromising lines. His eyes, when they finally meet mine across the distance of the hall, are the color of winter ice on deep water. Beautiful in their way. Utterly unreadable. I've seen alphas before who wear their dominance like a weapon, who need you to feel small in their presence to feel large themselves. Cashin isn't like that. His power is quieter, more certain. He doesn't need to prove anything. His authority is simply a fact, like gravity or the turning of seasons. And somehow, that terrifies me more. He walks toward us with measured steps, and I'm painfully aware of how I must look to him, a thin Omega in travel-worn clothing, barely managing to hold himself together, with a child clinging to his leg. Not exactly the maiden alpha of his stature would choose for himself. But then, he didn't choose me either, did he? This union was arranged by councils and advisors, by political necessities and territorial agreements. We're both prisoners of circumstance, even if his cage is considerably larger than mine. Elias Reed. His voice is deep, carrying easily across the stone acoustics. Not unkind, but not warm either. Simply stating a fact. Welcome to Clearwater Hold. Welcome. As if I had a choice. As if this were a visit rather than a permanent relocation of my entire existence. Thank you, Alpha Cashin. The words taste like ash in my mouth, but I force them out anyway. politeness, submission. The performance expected of an Omega in the presence of an Alpha who now owns him in every way that matters. His eyes shift down to Noah, and I feel my protective instincts flare so intensely that I nearly step between them. But that would be an insult, a suggestion that I don't trust him with my child, and I can't afford to start this relationship with open defiance. So I force myself to stay still, even as every fiber of my being wants to gather Noah up and run. And this is Noah. Cashin's voice gentles slightly when he addresses my son. Not much, but enough that I notice. Enough that something in my chest loosens just a fraction. You've had a long journey. You must be tired. Noah doesn't answer. He presses closer to my leg, and I feel his fear like it's my own. Because it is my own. We're afraid of the same thing, this unknown future, this strange Alpha, this life we never wanted. Cashin doesn't press. He simply nods, as if Noah's silence is answer enough, and turns his attention back to me. I've had rooms prepared for you both. We'll speak more after you've rested. It's not a suggestion. It's a dismissal, polite but absolute. And I realize that this is how it's going to be, Cashin making decisions, me following them. The natural order reasserting itself. One of the pack members, a beta woman with kind eyes, steps forward. I'll show you to your quarters, she says gently, and I'm grateful for her softness in this hard place. I want to say something. I want to establish some small measure of agency, some indication that I'm not just a thing to be moved around at will. But what would I say? What power do I have here? So I simply nod and follow her, Noah's hand still clutched in mine, feeling Cashin's eyes on my back as we leave the hall. The rooms they've given us are beautiful in their way. Large, well-appointed, with windows that overlook the pine forests surrounding the hold. There's a bed big enough for an Alpha and Omega to share, a reminder of what's expected of me, and a smaller bed in an adjoining room for Noah. Everything is clean, organized, perfect, and completely devoid of anything that feels like us. After the beta woman leaves, I sink onto the edge of the large bed and bury my face in my hands. This is my life now. This room. This hold. This Alpha who looked at me with all the warmth of someone assessing a piece of furniture. And somehow I have to make it work. Somehow I have to protect Noah and build some semblance of a life in this cold, beautiful prison. Papa. Noah's voice again, fragile as spun glass. I don't like it here. I pull him into my arms, breathing in the familiar scent of him, the only thing in this place that still smells like home. I know, sweetheart. I know. But we're going to be okay. I promise. Another lie. Or maybe a prayer. I'm not sure anymore which is which. The days blur together in those first weeks at Clearwater Hold. There's a routine to learn, a hierarchy to navigate, 1,000 unspoken rules about how an Omega should behave, where I'm allowed to go, what I'm permitted to do. I'm given tasks, managing certain household affairs, organizing supplies, the kind of domestic labor that's considered appropriate for someone of my designation. It's not unpleasant work, but it's not what I am either. I'm a person being slowly reduced to a function. Cashin is absent mostly. We see each other at formal dinners, at pack gatherings, in passing in the corridors. He's polite, distant. He asks after Noah occasionally, ensuring we have what we need, but there's no warmth in it. No attempt to build any kind of connection between us. We're strangers living in the same space, bound by obligation rather than affection. Part of me is relieved. If he keeps his distance, if this remains purely political, then maybe I can protect what's left of my heart. Maybe I can go through the motions without having to actually feel anything. But another part of me, the part one tried desperately to ignore, feels the sting of rejection. Because despite everything, despite my grief and my resistance, there's a small voice inside me that wonders, am I really so undesirable? So broken? So beneath notice? I hate that voice. I hate that after everything I've been through, I can still be wounded by an Alpha's indifference. Noah struggles to adjust. He's quiet, withdrawn, spending long hours in our rooms rather than exploring the hold. The other pack children try to include him in their games, but he shrinks away, clinging to the familiar safety of my presence. I see my own trauma reflected in him, and it breaks my heart. He deserves better than this. He deserves to be a child, carefree and happy, not a small ghost haunting the corridors of a place that doesn't feel like home. One afternoon, about 3 weeks after our arrival, I'm walking through the gardens when I see Cashin with Noah. My first instinct is panic. I'd left Noah in our rooms for just a few minutes while I attended to some household matter, and now here he is, outside, with the alpha I barely know. But as I draw closer, prepared to intervene, I notice something that makes me pause. Cashin is kneeling. Not standing over Noah with alpha dominance, but down on his level, speaking to him quietly. And Noah, my withdrawn, frightened Noah, is actually responding. I can't hear what they're saying, but I can see Noah's posture gradually relaxing, can see the hint of curiosity replacing the constant fear in his eyes. I watch from a distance as Cashin points to something in the garden, a bird's nest, I think, and Noah leans in to look. There's a patience in Cashin's movements that I haven't seen before, a gentleness that contradicts everything about his stern, authoritative presence. Something shifts in my chest. Something small but significant. When Cashin finally notices me watching, he doesn't look guilty or caught out. He simply nods in my direction, says something else to Noah, and stands. Noah runs to me, and for the first time since we arrived, there's a lightness in his step. Papa, did you know that mountain eagles lay their eggs in the tallest trees? Alpha Cashin showed me. Alpha Cashin. Not just the alpha or him. An actual name, spoken with something that might almost be enthusiasm. Did he? I manage, looking over Noah's head at Cashin, who's already turning to leave. That's wonderful, sweetheart. Cashin pauses, glances back. Our eyes meet for a brief moment and I see something there, not warmth, exactly, but not indifference either. Recognition, perhaps. An acknowledgement that we're both trying, in our own ways, to make this situation work. Then he's gone, and I'm left standing in the garden with my son, wondering if I've just witnessed something important or if I'm simply desperate enough to find meaning in the smallest gestures. The weeks stretch into a month. Then 6 weeks. The formal bonding ceremony looms ahead of us, a date circled on the calendar like a sentence, waiting to be carried out. In our world, the initial arrangement is one thing, but the true bonding, the permanent, irreversible connection between Alpha and Omega, requires a ceremony, a public declaration, and a private consummation that will tie us together for life. I'm not ready. I'll never be ready. But time doesn't care about readiness. My grief hasn't diminished. If anything, it's become more complicated, tangled up with guilt and confusion and this strange, unwanted awareness of Cashin that I can't seem to suppress. I dream of my late mate, his laugh, his touch, the way he made me feel safe in a world designed to make Omegas feel anything but. And I wake feeling like I'm betraying him by being here, by going through the motions of building a life with someone else. But what choice do I have? What choice has there ever been? I see more of Cashin now, though our interactions remain formal. He continues to show unexpected kindness toward Noah, teaching him about the territory, introducing him to the pack's children, including him in small ways that gradually draw my son out of his shell. And each time I witness it, each time I see Cashin patient with Noah's fears or gentle with his questions, something inside me softens despite my best efforts to remain closed off. I tell myself it doesn't mean anything, that kindness to a child is basic decency, not a sign of deeper feeling, that I'm a fool for reading into it, for allowing hope to creep in like water through cracks in a dam. But late at night, alone in the too large bed I haven't had to share yet, I find myself thinking about him, wondering what he's like beneath the alpha authority, whether he's as lonely in this arrangement as I am, whether he resents being tied to an Omega he didn't choose, or whether he's simply indifferent. The not knowing is its own kind of torture. One evening, I'm putting Noah to bed when he asks me a question that stops my heart. Papa, do you think you could ever love Alpha Cashin the way you loved Dad? I freeze, my hand stilling on Noah's hair. Where did this come from? What has he noticed that I thought I was hiding? Why would you ask that, sweetheart? Noah looks up at me with eyes far too perceptive for his age. Because you seem sad all the time. And Alpha Cashin seems sad too. I thought maybe if you loved each other, you wouldn't be sad anymore. The simplicity of childhood logic. The belief that love is a solution rather than a complication. It's not that simple, Noah. Why not? Because I'm terrified. Because opening my heart again means risking it being destroyed again. Because I don't know if I have the strength to survive another loss. Because love isn't something you can force or fabricate, no matter how much you might wish otherwise. Because sometimes people need time, I say instead. Sometimes hearts need to heal before they can love again. Has your heart healed yet?
No. God, no.
It's still broken into so many pieces, I'm not sure I'll ever find them all. I'm working on it, I whisper, pressing a kiss to his forehead. Now sleep. Tomorrow is a new day. But after Noah drifts off, I sit in the darkness of my room and let myself cry for the first time since we arrived at Clearwater Hold. I cry for my lost mate, for the life we should have had, for the innocence my son has lost. I cry for myself, for the fear and loneliness and impossible situation I'm trapped in. I cry until I'm empty, until there's nothing left but exhaustion and the dull ache that's become my constant companion. And somewhere in the hold, I wonder if Cashin is awake too, if he's struggling with his own version of this impossible situation, or if alphas are simply better at burying their feelings beneath layers of duty and responsibility. The heat comes without warning. I should have anticipated it, should have tracked my cycle, should have prepared. But grief has made me careless, and stress has disrupted my body's natural rhythms. So when I wake one morning with fever burning through my veins and need clawing at my insides, I'm caught completely off guard. Omega heats are biological imperatives, overwhelming drives that reduce you to pure instinct. Your body demands an alpha's presence, an alpha's touch, regardless of what your mind might want. It's the most vulnerable state an omega can experience, and it's the reason why unmated omegas are considered such risks, because during heat, you lose the ability to protect yourself, to make rational decisions, to be anything other than a creature of desperate need. I've been through heats before, obviously. With my late mate, they were intense but manageable, even beautiful in their way, a shared intimacy, a deepening of our bond. But this is different. This is heat without the comfort of a chosen partner, without the safety of established trust. This is my body demanding something I'm not ready to give. I managed to get Noah to the beta woman who's been helping us. Thank God I have enough presence of mind for that, before the heat truly takes hold. Then I stumble back to my room, lock the door, and collapse onto the bed as wave after wave of need crashes over me. It's agony. Pure, undiluted agony. My body screams for an alpha, for Cashin specifically, because he's the unmated alpha in closest proximity, and biology doesn't care about my emotional readiness. Every cell in my body is oriented toward him, calling for him, demanding his presence with an intensity that terrifies me. I try to ride it out alone. I've heard of omegas managing heats without alphas, though it's supposedly excruciating. But I'm stubborn and I'm scared, and I don't want this forced intimacy with someone I barely know. So I curl into myself and try to endure. Hours pass. Or maybe minutes. Time loses meaning when you're drowning in biological imperative. There's a knock at the door. Elias. Cashin's voice, tight with tension. I can smell your heat. Let me in.
No.
My voice is barely recognizable, thick with need and fear. I can handle it. You can't. Your scent is flooding the entire wing. Every alpha in the hold can sense your distress. Let me help you. I don't want, but a wave of cramping pain cuts off my words, leaving me gasping. I'm coming in. Not a request. A statement of fact. I hear the lock click. Of course he has keys to these rooms. Of course I was never truly alone here. And then he's inside, closing the door behind him, and the relief that floods through me at his presence is both immediate and humiliating. My omega instincts recognize him.
Claim him.
Demand him. But the rational part of my mind, the part that's still clinging to consciousness, is screaming in protest. This isn't how it's supposed to be. This isn't choice. This is biology overriding everything I want, everything I've tried to maintain. Please. I don't even know what I'm asking for. Please leave. Please stay. Please make this stop. Please make it better. Cashin approaches the bed slowly, his movements careful and controlled despite what must be his own biological response to an omega in heat. Alphas are driven to respond to omega heats. It's how we've survived as a species, this complementary need. But he's fighting it, maintaining control in a way that must cost him dearly. I'm not going to touch you, he says, his voice strained but steady. Not like that. Not until you're ready. But I can help ease this.
How?
The word comes out as a whimper, and I hate myself for it. My presence. My scent. It won't satisfy the heat completely, but it will help. Trust me.
Trust.
As if that's something simple. As if I have any left to give. But the pain is too much, the need too overwhelming. So when he settles onto the bed beside me, not touching, but close enough that I can feel his warmth, smell the pine and mountain water scent that marks him as clear water holds alpha. I don't protest. And God help me, it does help. Not completely, not enough to end the heat, but enough to take the edge off the agony. Enough to let me breathe. That's it, he murmurs, and there's a gentleness in his voice I've never heard before. Just breathe through it. I've got you. Hours pass like this. Cashin stays beside me, a constant presence, occasionally speaking in low, soothing tones, sometimes silent. He fetches water when I'm coherent enough to drink. He adjusts the blankets when I'm shivering despite the fever. He never once takes advantage of my vulnerable state, never pushes for more than I'm capable of giving. In my more lucid moments, I'm aware of what this must cost him. The restraint required to be near an omega in heat and maintain boundaries. The physical discomfort. The primal drives he's overriding through sheer force of will.
Why?
I manage to ask at one point, when the heat has ebbed enough for speech. Why are you doing this? He's quiet for a long moment. Then, because you're mine to protect now. And that means protecting you from everything, including from being forced into something before you're ready. Mine to protect. Not mine to possess. Not mine to claim. To protect. Something inside me, something that's been locked away since my mate died, begins to crack open. I don't know how to do this, I whisper. I don't know how to be someone's omega again. You don't have to know. Not yet. We have time. The bonding ceremony
Can wait.
or we can go through the motions for political purposes and leave the rest until you're ready. I won't force this, Elias. I won't force you. I want to believe him. God, I want to believe him so badly. But belief requires trust, and trust requires vulnerability, and I'm not sure I have any vulnerability left to give. The heat lasts 3 days. 3 days of Cashin's patient presence, his careful attention, his unwavering respect for boundaries I can barely articulate. By the time it finally breaks, I'm exhausted in ways that have nothing to do with physical depletion. When I'm finally coherent again, truly myself, Cashin is still there. Sitting in a chair by the window, looking haggard and tired but alert. You stayed, I say, my voice rough from disuse. I told you I would. You didn't have to. You could have left after the worst pass. He looks at me then, really looks at me, and I see something in his eyes that makes my breath catch. Not just duty. Not just responsibility. Something deeper, more complex. Yes, he says simply. I did have to. And then he leaves, closing the door softly behind him, and I'm alone with the realization that everything I thought I understood about this arrangement, about Cashin, about what's possible between us, might be wrong. After the heat, something shifts between us. The formal distance that characterized our early weeks together begins to erode, replaced by something more tentative, more real. We start having conversations, actual conversations, not just polite exchanges of information. Cashin asks about my past, about my late mate, and he listens when I talk, really listens as if my history matters to him. I learn things about him too. That he became alpha young after his father's death in a territorial
dispute.
that he's carried the weight of leadership since he was barely an adult. That the stern, unapproachable exterior is partially a defense mechanism, a way of maintaining authority when you're younger than most of the alphas you're expected to command. I didn't want this either, he admits one evening, when we're both sitting in the library, Noah asleep upstairs. The arranged mating. I know it was necessary for political reasons, but I didn't want to force anyone into a bond they didn't choose. Then why agree to it? Because sometimes what we want and what we must do aren't the same thing. Because protecting this pack, maintaining our alliances, ensuring our survival, that comes before personal preference. It's the most honest he's ever been with me, and I find myself responding in kind. I was terrified when I arrived here. Terrified of you, of what you might demand, of losing what little control I had left over my own life. And now, such a loaded question. Now I'm less terrified but more confused. Now I find myself noticing things about him I shouldn't. The way his eyes soften when he looks at Noah, the rare smile that transforms his stern face into something almost boyish, the gentleness in his hands despite their alpha strength. Now I'm starting to feel things I swore I'd never let myself feel again. Now I'm just trying to figure out what this is. What we are. We're whatever we decide to be, Cashin says. Not what tradition demands or politics requires. What we choose.
Choice.
That word again. The thing I thought I'd lost forever, being offered back to me piece by piece. I watch him more carefully after that. I notice the small kindnesses, the way he ensures my favorite tea is always stocked, the way he diverts pack business away from me when I'm having a difficult day, the way he started teaching Noah not just about the territory, but about things my son is actually interested in. Birds. Streams. The names of stars. I notice the way other pack members respond to him with genuine respect rather than fear. The way he settles disputes with fairness rather than dominance. The way he carries the weight of leadership as if it's both burden and privilege. And I notice, despite my best efforts not to, the way my body responds when he's near. Not just the omega biology, that's expected, manageable, but something deeper. A pull that has nothing to do with heat cycles and everything to do with the person he's revealing himself to be. It's terrifying, because feeling this means being vulnerable again. It means opening myself to the possibility of loss, of pain, of all the things I swore I'd protect myself from. But it's also something. After months of feeling nothing but grief and fear, this tentative warmth is like finding a candle in a dark room. Small, fragile, but undeniably real. Noah notices, too. He started calling Cashin just Cashin instead of Alpha Cashin, started seeking him out for small things, started treating him less like a distant authority figure and more like, well, not a father replacement exactly. Nothing could replace his father. But maybe someone who could fill a different role. Someone who could be trusted. Someone who could become family in his own right. One afternoon, I find them in the training yards. Cashin is teaching Noah basic self-defense, movements simplified for a 5-year-old, but important nonetheless. And Noah is laughing. Actually laughing, bright and clear, in a way I haven't heard since before his father died. The sound breaks something in me, or maybe meant something. I'm not sure which. Cashin looks up, catches me watching, and smiles. It's a small smile, tentative, but it's genuine. And for the first time since arriving at Clearwater Hold, I smile back. The Ironhold attack comes on a night when the moon is dark and the air tastes of coming snow. I'm in our rooms with Noah when the first alarm sounds, a howl that raises every hair on my body, that triggers instincts older than civilization. Danger.
Threat.
Protect the young. I grab Noah, already pulling him toward the inner keep where Omegas and children shelter during attacks. We've had drills for this, practiced the routes, but practicing and experiencing are vastly different things. The corridors fill with pack members rushing to defensive positions, with the sounds of preparation for battle, with the scent of fear and fury mixing in the air. Papa, what's happening? Noah clings to me, his small body trembling. We're under attack, sweetheart. But we're going to be safe. Alpha Cashin and the warriors will protect us. Will he? Will they? Or is this the moment when everything I've started to rebuild gets torn away again? I reach the inner keep, a fortified chamber deep in the heart of the hold, where other Omegas and children are already gathering. The Beta woman who's been helping us is there, organizing people, maintaining calm despite the fear I can see in her eyes. Elias, good. Take Noah to the back corner. Stay away from the doors. I do as she says, settling into a space where stone walls surround us on 3 sides. Around us, other pack members huddle together, parents comforting children, Omegas trying to project calm they don't feel, everyone listening to the sounds of battle beginning above and outside. Ironhold, our greatest rival. The pack that's been challenging Clearwater's territory for decades. I know the history now, the long-standing grievances and power struggles that make this attack almost inevitable. But knowing doesn't make it less terrifying. Hours pass. Or maybe minutes that feel like hours. Time has no meaning when you're trapped underground, listening to sounds that might be victory or defeat, protection or penetration of our defenses. Noah has gone silent, pressed against me, too frightened even to cry. I hold him and try to project a calm I absolutely don't feel, try to be the strong parent he needs even as my own fear threatens to overwhelm me. And beneath the fear, another emotion, a desperate, clawing need to know if Cashin is safe. When did that happen? When did his safety become something I care about with this intensity? When did he become someone whose death would devastate me? I don't have time to examine these questions because suddenly there's a commotion at the keep's entrance. Shouting. The clash of combat very close now. Too close. They've broken through. The Beta woman positions herself in front of the entrance, along with several other pack members who've stayed behind to guard us. They're not warriors, not really, but they're willing to fight to protect those too vulnerable to fight for themselves. Stay back, someone shouts. Everyone to the back walls. We press ourselves against the stone, and I wrap my body around Noah's, making myself a shield between him and whatever's coming. If they want my son, they'll have to go through me first. The fighting at the entrance is brief but brutal. I hear sounds I never want to hear again. The wet impact of weapons finding flesh, the screams of the injured and dying, the savage snarls of combat between our kinds. Then silence. A terrible, heavy silence. Check for survivors, a voice commands. Not a Clearwater hold voice. An intruder's voice, rough with authority and violence. My heart stops. They're inside. They've breached our sanctuary, and there's nowhere left to run. I hear them moving through the keep, pulling people out, assessing them. Looking for something. Or someone. A hand grabs my shoulder, yanking me up. I try to hold on to Noah, but another hand tears him away from me. No. The scream rips from my throat. Please, he's just a child. The Ironhold warrior, a massive alpha with scars crossing his face, looks down at Noah with an expression I can't read. Then he smiles, and it's the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. Alpha Cashin's new Omega has a son, he says, as if making a realization. Perfect. Lord Michael will be pleased. What do you want? I demand, trying to push past the warrior, holding me to get to Noah. Let him go. Lord Michael wants to send a message to your alpha about the cost of defying Ironhold. The child will serve that purpose nicely.
No. No.
This can't be happening. Not again. I can't lose another person I love. Can't watch Noah be taken from me. Can't survive this. Take me instead. I'm begging now. All pride abandoned. Please, I'll go willingly. Just leave my son alone. The scarred alpha considers this, then shakes his head. You're valuable too, but the child is the message. He'll be safe enough, assuming your alpha values him enough to meet our terms. And then they're dragging Noah away, and he's screaming for me, and I'm fighting with every ounce of strength I have, but it's not enough. It's never enough. Omegas aren't built for this kind of combat. Something hits my head. The world tilts, goes dark around the edges. The last thing I see before unconsciousness takes me is Noah's terrified face, looking back as they carry him through the keep's entrance. Then nothing. I wake to chaos. The battle is still raging. I can hear it, feel it in the vibrations through the stone. Someone is tending to the wound on my head, speaking to me. But I can't process the words because there's only one thought screaming through my mind. They took Noah. Where? My voice doesn't work properly. I try again. Where's my son? The person tending to me, another Omega, I think, though my vision is still blurry, looks at me with profound pity. They took several children. We don't know where yet. But Alpha Cashin is leading the pursuit. He'll get them back. Will he? Can he? What if he can't? What if Noah is already gone, already lost, another person stolen from my life by violence and circumstances beyond my control? I try to stand, but my legs won't hold me. The blow to my head was worse than I thought. Everything spins and I collapse back down. You need to rest. I need my son. The words come out as a roar, Omega or not, because this is beyond biology, beyond designation. This is a parent's fundamental terror. Time loses meaning again. I drift in and out of consciousness, awareness, rational thought. Sometimes I'm being tended to. Sometimes I'm alone. Sometimes I can hear battle sounds. Sometimes there's silence. And through it all, one constant, the gnawing fear that I'll never see Noah again. When Cashin finally appears in the keep, I'm conscious enough to register his presence. He's covered in blood, some his own, mostly not, and his face is grim with exhaustion and rage. He scans the room until his eyes find mine, and in that moment, I see everything I need to know. Noah isn't with him.
No.
The word falls from my lips like a stone into still water. No, please. Cashin crosses to me in 3 long strides, kneeling beside me despite his obvious injuries. Listen to me, he says, his voice tight with controlled fury. They've taken Noah and 2 other children to their stronghold. It's a hostage situation. They want territorial concessions in exchange for the children's safe return. Then give them whatever they want. I grab his shirt, desperate, beyond caring how I look or sound.
Give them anything.
Just get him back. I will get him back. But not by surrendering to extortion. They'll never honor such an agreement. They'll take what we give and keep the hostages anyway. The only way to ensure Noah's safety is to take him back by force. Then do it. Why are you here talking to me instead of? Because you deserve to know what I'm about to do. And because if this goes wrong, you deserve to know that I tried. The words hit me like physical blows. If this goes wrong, if he fails, if Noah dies because of a rescue attempt gone bad, how long? I ask, my voice barely a whisper. How long has it been? 4 hours since the initial attack. 2 hours since they retreated with the hostages. I've been gathering intelligence, planning the assault. We move at dawn. It gives us the cover of early light while they're still expecting us to negotiate. I want to come with you. Absolutely not. He's my son. Which is exactly why you can't come. You're injured, untrained for combat, and if something goes wrong, no one needs at least one parent to survive. His hands come up to cup my face, gentle despite their strength. I will bring him home. I swear it to you. I will bring him home, or I'll die trying. And I believe him. Despite everything, despite my fear and trauma, and the walls I've tried to keep around my heart, I believe him completely. Don't die, I whisper.
Please.
Don't die trying. Something shifts in his expression, surprise, maybe, or realization. I won't. I have too much to come back to. Then he's gone, moving with purpose toward the keep's entrance, calling orders to the warriors gathering around him. And I'm left behind with my fear and my prayers and the terrible helplessness of loving people I might lose. Loving.
Yes.
I can admit it now when it might be too late. I love my son, of course, with every fiber of my being. But I also love Cashin. Somewhere between his patience during my heat and his kindness toward Noah and the way he's given me choice when I thought I had none, I've fallen in love with my reluctant mate. And now I might lose them both. The hours until dawn are the longest of my life. Longer than the night my first mate died. Longer than the journey to Clearwater Hold. Longer than anything should have to be. I can't sleep.
Can't rest.
Can only sit and wait and imagine every possible outcome. most of them terrible. When the rescue party leaves, I feel it, a sudden absence in the hold, as if all the vital energy has been sucked out, leaving only those of us too young, too old, or too injured to fight. We wait together in that terrible space between hope and despair, clinging to faith we're not sure we have. Dawn comes. Then morning. Then midday. No word. The silence is its own kind of torture. Then, finally, as afternoon light begins to slant through the keep's high windows, we hear it, the sound of the rescue party returning. I struggle to my feet despite the protests of those around me, despite the way my vision swims and my head pounds. I have to know.
Have to see.
Have to find out if my world has ended, or if there's still hope for tomorrow. I make it as far as the keep's entrance before my strength gives out. But it's far enough to see them coming through the main gates of the hold. Cashin, blood-soaked and exhausted, is in the lead. And in his arms, safe and whole and crying but alive, is Noah. The relief that floods through me is so intense that I actually collapse. Someone catches me. I don't even register who, but I can't take my eyes off my son, can't stop the tears streaming down my face, can't contain the sounds that are half sob, half prayer. Papa. Noah sees me and squirms until Cashin sets him down. He runs to me, throwing himself into my arms with such force that we both nearly fall over. Papa, you're okay? I was so scared. I know, baby. I know. But you're safe now. You're safe. Over Noah's head, my eyes meet Cashin's. He looks like he's been through hell wounds that will need tending, exhaustion that goes bone deep, the weight of leadership and violence heavy on his shoulders. But he's alive. They're both alive. Thank you, I mouth, because I can't make the words come out properly around the lump in my throat. He nods, just once, and in that simple gesture I see everything he didn't say. You're welcome. I told you I'd bring him back. I'd do it again. I'd do anything for you both. Later, after the healers have tended to everyone's wounds, after Noah has fallen into an exhausted sleep in our rooms, after the hold has begun to settle into the aftermath of crisis, Cashin comes to find me. I'm sitting by Noah's bed, watching him sleep, reassuring myself with every breath that he's real and safe and here. May I come in? Cashin asks from the doorway, and there's an uncertainty in his voice I've never heard before. Please. He enters quietly, moving to stand beside me. For a long moment, we both just watch Noah sleep, two adults who've been through trauma finding solace in a child's peaceful rest. He was brave, Cashin finally says. When we found them, the other children were hysterical with fear, but Noah was trying to comfort them. He told them that his papa's Alpha would come for them, that you would make sure they were saved. The words break something in me. My brave, beautiful boy, trying to be strong when he must have been terrified. I should have protected him better, I whisper. Should have kept him safe. You did everything right. This wasn't your fault. I'm his parent. It's my job to. Elias. Cashin's hand comes to rest on my shoulder. You can't prevent every danger. You can't shield him from the world, no matter how much you want to. All you can do is love him, teach him to be strong, and be there to help him heal when bad things happen. I look up at him, at this Alpha who's shown me more kindness than I thought possible, who's given me more than I knew how to ask for. Is that what you're doing? Helping us heal? I'm trying. I know I'm not. I know this isn't what you would have chosen. But I want you to know that somewhere along the way, this stopped being just about duty for me. My heart stutters. What do you mean? He kneels beside my chair, so we're at eye level, his ice blue eyes intense and sincere. I mean that I care about you. About Noah. I mean that when they took him, the fear I felt wasn't just about failing in my duty as Alpha. It was personal. It was terror at the thought of losing someone who's become important to me. Cashin. You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know. Before the bonding ceremony, before we make this permanent, I wanted you to know that this is real for me. Not an arrangement. Not politics. Real. I reach out, my hand trembling, and touch his face. He's real too, solid and warm and here, looking at me like I'm something precious rather than something obligatory. I was so scared I'd lost you both, I admit. When you left to rescue Noah, I realized that somewhere along the way, you'd become someone I couldn't bear to lose either. His hand comes up to cover mine, pressing it against his cheek. Does that mean? It means I'm ready. For the bonding. For making this real. For choosing this, choosing you, instead of just accepting what I thought was forced upon me. The smile that breaks across his face is like sunrise after the longest night. Are you sure? Because we can wait. We can take as much time as you need. I'm sure. I've spent enough time being afraid. I want to live again. With you. He kisses me then, soft and careful, asking permission even as he takes it. And I kiss him back, pouring into it all the fear and relief and new, fragile hope that's been building in my chest. When we finally break apart, both breathless, he rests his forehead against mine. I'll spend the rest of my life earning this, he promises. Earning your trust. Earning the right to be Noah's parent too, if he'll let me. Earning whatever you're willing to give. You've already earned it. By being patient when I needed time. By being kind when I expected coldness. By fighting for my son, when you didn't have to. You've already proven yourself, Cashin. Now I just need to prove to myself that I'm brave enough to accept it. The bonding ceremony is different this time. The last time we stood before the pack, it was a formality, a political arrangement that everyone understood, but no one particularly celebrated. I was a grief-stricken Omega fulfilling an obligation. Cashin was an alpha doing his duty. But this time, when we stand before our pack with hands joined, there's something real between us. Something that's been forged through crisis and patience and the slow, careful building of trust. The ceremonial words are the same, ancient and formal, speaking of bonds and duties and the joining of two lines. But the way Cashin says his vows is different. Not reciting by rote but speaking with intention, his eyes never leaving mine. I, Cashin of Clearwater Hold, take you, Elias Reed, as my true mate. I vow to protect you, to honor you, to stand beside you through whatever challenges we face. I vow to be a partner to you and a guardian to your son. I vow to earn your trust every day for the rest of our lives. When it's my turn, my voice is steady despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm me. I, Elias Reed, take you, Cashin of Clearwater Hold, as my true mate. I vow to stand with you, to build a life with you, to trust you with my heart even though it terrifies me. I vow to be the Omega you deserve and to help you carry the burdens of leadership. I vow to choose you, every day, for the rest of our lives. The pack witnesses our words, but this ceremony is truly for us. For the commitment we're making not because we have to, but because we want to. When Cashin marks me, the bite that will scar, that will mark me as his Omega permanently, it doesn't feel like ownership. It feels like belonging, like finally having a place that's mine by choice rather than by circumstance. And when I mark him in return a smaller mark, as is traditional but no less significant, I feel the bond snap into place between us. Not just biological, not just political, but emotional.
Real.
A connection that goes deeper than designation or duty. The celebration afterwards is genuine this time. The pack members who witness can see the difference, can feel that this is more than arrangement. Noah is there, beaming with pride, already calling Cashin Papa Cashin in a way that makes my heart both ache and soar. Later, when we're alone in our rooms, truly alone for the first time since my heat, there's nervousness but also anticipation. We don't have to, Cashin begins, but I silence him with a kiss. I want to. I'm ready. I choose this. And when we finally come together, when we consummate our bond in the way that will seal it completely, it's nothing like duty or obligation. It's intimacy and trust, and the beginning of something I thought I'd never have again, a future built on love rather than loss. Months pass. Seasons change. The hold that once felt like a prison becomes a home. Noah thrives. He has friends now, pack children who include him in their games and adventures. He's learning the territory, learning what it means to be part of Clearwater Hold. And he's learning what it means to have two parents again, me and Cashin, both committed to his well-being in our different ways. Cashin and I continue to learn each other, to build our relationship beyond the foundation of crisis and necessity. We have our challenges moments. When my grief resurfaces, moments when his duties pull him away, moments when we have to navigate the complications of being two people from different backgrounds learning to share a life. But we also have moments of pure joy. Quiet evenings by the fire. Mornings waking up together. Watching Noah grow and flourish. Small, ordinary moments that add up to something extraordinary. One night, as we're lying in bed, Cashin traces the bonding mark on my neck, now fully healed into a permanent scar. "Do you ever regret it?" he asks quietly. "Choosing this? Choosing me?" I turn to face him, seeing the vulnerability in his question. Even alphas have insecurities. Even leaders need reassurance. Never. "Do you regret choosing me back?" Choosing you was the easiest decision I've ever made. Everything else in my life is complicated, but you and Noah? That's simple. That's home.
Home. Yes.
That's exactly what this has become. Not because of the place, not because of the political arrangements or the biological bonds, but because of the people. Because of the family we've chosen to build together. My late mate will always hold a place in my heart. That grief doesn't disappear, doesn't get replaced. But I've learned that the heart is capable of holding multiple truths at once. I can honor the love I had while embracing the love I have now. I can remember the past while building toward the future. Some nights I still dream of him, of the life we should have had. But I wake now to a different reality, to Cashin's warmth beside me, to Noah's laughter echoing through the hold, to a future that holds promise instead of just pain. This wasn't the life I would have chosen when I first arrived at Clearwater Hold, grieving and afraid. But it's the life I choose now. Every day, with clear eyes and an open heart. I look at Cashin, at this alpha who's shown me that strength can be gentle, that power can be wielded with kindness, that love can be built from the most unlikely beginnings. "Thank you," I whisper. "For what?" "For being patient. For giving me time to heal. For showing me that choosing to love again doesn't mean betraying what I've lost." He pulls me closer, and I rest my head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "You gave me something too," he says. "A reason to be more than just an alpha. A reason to be someone worthy of being chosen." Outside, the wind whispers through the pines surrounding Clearwater Hold. Inside, we're warm and safe and together. And tomorrow, we'll wake to build another day of this life we're creating. Not perfect, never perfect, but real and chosen and ours. Noah's voice drifts from his room, calling out in his sleep, and we both rise automatically to check on him. We find him tangled in blankets, still asleep, but restless. Together, we settle him back into comfortable sleep, working in the synchronized harmony that comes from shared parenting, shared purpose. As we return to our room, Cashin takes my hand, and I realize something fundamental has shifted. The question is no longer whether I can survive this new life, whether I can endure this arranged bond. The question now is how much joy I can allow myself. How fully I can embrace this second chance. How completely I can let myself live again instead of just surviving. And the answer, I'm discovering day by day, is more than I ever thought possible. This is my life now. Not the one I planned, not the one I expected, but the one I'm choosing. Every morning when I wake. Every evening when we gather together. Every moment in between. I am Elias Reed, Omega of Clearwater Hold. Mate to Alpha Cashin. Parent to Noah. And for the first time since loss shattered my world, I am more than just my grief. I am whole. I am home. I am loved. And that, finally, is enough.